Hey folks, this is Jason Watkins of the Hall of Fame College Football Podcast. Just wanted to remind you, if you are not already a subscriber to our channel, what are you waiting on? We need all the subscribers we can get. We have been putting them on quickly, but we are on our way to 1,000 and we got to get there to monetize. So please, before you forget, hit the red subscriber button right here on YouTube. Hey folks, Jason Watkins, Hall of Fame College Football Podcast. Just wanted to remind you about our official partnership with Fanatics, the #1 team merchandise retailer in the world. That's right. Every time you need a hat, jersey, hoodie, even memorabilia for your favorite team, all you got to do is hit our link and you can get up to 65% off. Not only that, but with Christmas coming, there are deals on things that they never really put on sale on their online store. So check out our link, bit.ly/HOF-fanatics. We get a small commission for everything you purchase. You just shop normally and you get up to 65% off everything in the store. It's a win-win situation. So don't forget, bit.ly/HOF-fanatics. Let's go! Welcome back to the Hall of Fame College Football Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Watkins, and if you love college football, you are definitely in the right place. So before you forget, smash that red subscriber button, like our videos, and don't forget to ring the bell so you don't miss one moment of the Hall of Fame College Football Podcast. Wanted to thank everybody for jumping in, taking a look at the content that we've been putting out for the last few weeks. We are growing exponentially. We're growing subscribers all the time. Please make sure that you go ahead and sub if you haven't already. Hit that like button. It helps us content creators out tremendously. We've got some amazing content coming to your way both tonight and for the next few weeks, obviously, with everything going on in the transfer portal and recruiting for Oklahoma. There's lots to talk about. So with that, I'm going to bring in our this is our insider for Oklahoma recruiting, Mr. Peyton Manning.
How's it going?
Bud? How are you doing today?
Staying busy,
Staying busy. Well, yeah, that's because you're worried. You're still defending the country too. You got all kinds of stuff going on.
Portal opened up Monday. I guess, a handful to two handfuls, and, we're obviously right around that area. So but we were talking before the show, and I look at it as not a huge loss for what we've lost. I actually think we've done a lot better than some of the team. Like A&M is hurting right now.
A bit.
So we'll see. We'll see where everything falls and dominoes take place at.
Yeah, I don't know if you said you did watch the Okie Light video that I put out earlier. They're hurting too. I mean, you're talking about major players on both sides of the football. Starting quarterback, best player on the defense in Mason Cobb. I mean, for as much as A&M seems like they've lost, they're also apparently getting Cobb as well. I know that Oklahoma offered him, isn't that right?
Yes. Yeah. They have. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny because they were talking, their head coach again, he was talking, and he was just like, hey, I'm not a big portal guy. We'll see. We'll see where all this goes. And it's going to hurt him to not attack the portal as much as, he said he wasn't going to do. So if he doesn't attack the portal, he's not going to have much of a roster next year. And I think he really does need to attack that roster.
He better. He may not have a football team. And as I was saying in that video, I feel like you're going to have to, if you're Oklahoma State and you're not
Mhm.
looking to upgrade at coach at this point, what are you doing? Because you're getting this is a point in where you have a time now. Oklahoma, Texas are leaving, and you have new
Mhm.
blood coming into the conference. So
Yep.
you could establish yourself as one of the top tier programs in the Big 12 if you make a big move.
Yep.
And if you've got a guy that is at best, I mean, he's kind of indifferent to recruiting and all the way around, it seems like.
Mhm.
Well, how are you going to do that? It just makes zero sense to me.
Yeah, it doesn't make much sense at all. That's for sure. So if he doesn't, it's going to be interesting for sure.
I,
So.
look, folks, let us know what you think in the comments because we don't. I know myself. I feel like there's no way in the world that this guy should still be there. I mean, when you have this much of your team walking out on you, nobody at all is saying that they want to stay.
Mhm.
Even they've got 10, 11, 12 seniors that have eligibility left, can come back. None of them have come out publicly and said that they are. And you've got a starting quarterback who started as a freshman, and he's been, I mean, shit, it seems like Spencer Sanders has been there for 15 years. But
Yeah.
so, I mean, but he's gone, and then Mason Cobb is gone, and that was their main guy on defense. I
Yeah,
mean,
Mason Cobb is gonna be an immediate help to whoever gets him
oh
for sure.
man, no
Yeah,
doubt, right?
yeah, he's
That
gonna
guy's
bless
got an
somebody.
attitude. I love watching
Hmm.
him play.
Yeah,
I
he's
do.
a he's an animal. But just to go into a little bit of our recruiting, a lot of people seeing that. I think today that they had offered C.J. Blocker. He's a defensive back. Um, he was committed, and to I forget the school. I'm blanking on the school right now, but he was committed for a while. He decommitted here past couple weeks ago, and then sent an official visit to USC. And then he's actually an OU legacy. His dad played in the late '90s for us,
Who
so
is
we
this?
went in. And
Say this
his
again.
name's CJ Blocker.
Oh, Blocker. Yeah,
Yeah,
they've been talking
so
about him a lot.
yeah, so we're trying to get an official visit in for him next weekend. Um, targeting this week, in-home visits started up, I think last Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of our targets, Peyton Bowen, they had a really good in-home visit with him. Um, they loved everything about it. They actually did that to yesterday, Wednesday. Um,
Right.
so that went pretty well, is what I'm hearing. As good as it could. Um, Quincy Rhodes Jr. is an edge we offered kind of out of the blue.
Uh,
But he's a 6'7", 255
oh,
edge. And he's currently committed to Arkansas to play. He's from Arkansas, but he's a
okay.
he's a big person.
Yeah,
So we'll
that's a
see if
big
he.
person.
Yeah, that's a big person.
He said that's a big person.
So speaking of big people, we offered a defensive tackle. I had whenever I had posted the offers, I had posted him at like 255, and I was just looking at his 24/7. Usually 24/7 is really good about updating.
Yes.
Well, I went through and actually looked at their roster. He's from Louisville. He's actually a 6'6", 300 pounds. His name is Caleb Banks, and
Okay.
he's a he's a big person. So it kind of
Good
with the
grief.
transfer portals, I always look at.
I think I was looking at Caleb Banks the other day. Yeah,
Hmm.
that guy's a monster.
Yeah, he with the transfer portal, I always tell people like, okay, we can offer them all we want, but are they going to come take a visit? Because whenever they usually take a visit, that's usually when they're showing like, hey, like I'm really interested in coming. Speaking of visits this week, we actually have a. Oh my gosh, no, I
Love
wish,
it, James. Love it.
I
No, that's
wish.
awesome.
But I always speaking of visits, we have a really big weekend of recruiting this weekend. Um, we have a pretty long list of recruits coming in. Most notably, a lot of people are pretty happy about the Indiana linebacker and his brother's safety, McCole, the McCole brothers.
The
He's
McCullough
a
brothers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the McCullough brothers. They're going to come in. They're heavily leaned towards Oklahoma right now as we speak.
Yeah, talk a little bit about that one, because that was the one that they had the visit the other day. Wasn't it, where they went and talked to, and doesn't their dad work for Notre Dame?
Yeah, so their dad is the running back coach for Notre Dame. And so Notre Dame fans were ecstatic
Right.
when talking about him. Whenever that linebacker from Indiana entered the transfer portal, they were all like, "Oh, we're leaning." I had even heard that they were winning that race, and then
Right.
one morning I woke up and that the linebacker, the safety, he was falling to Oklahoma, like
Right.
at 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning. It was like crazy. And I woke up and I'd gotten a text and they were like, I actually don't think Notre Dame's leaving for them. I think Oklahoma is. And I was like, what? Because it was just a
Nice.
complete 180 of turn of events, because Notre
Right.
Dame Notre Dame insiders were pretty confident, and then out of nowhere they weren't so confident because the
Boy, they're a
McCullough
pissy
brothers want
bunch
to.
lately, aren't they?
Yeah, the McCullough brothers, they want to play together. So if this by the way, I just confirmed they are visiting together this weekend. Yeah, they're going to be in town this weekend to visit. So it's plus we have Joshua Bates, the center that is signed on right now. He's going to be in town. So he's a great pitch and sell person. He's going to sell Oklahoma. And he also, respects boundaries and understands that they have choices. But yeah, he there's a lot of people coming into town this weekend. Which,
Right.
congratulations to Bates. He made 4-star this morning on the recent update. So, which was deserving. He's not a 3-star at all. Which also
Wait, explain that.
so
Bates, Todd
Joshua
Bates,
Bates,
Joshua Bates.
Joshua Bates. Yeah, he's our center that's signed on. He made a 4-star this morning. He got his 4th-star. Yeah,
Nice.
so he pretty excited about that. And I was saying he deserved it. I mean, he is not a 3-star at all. There was another player. Let me look real quick. Who got their 4 stars?
While you do that, folks, thanks a lot again for joining us. DJ, thanks a lot for subscribing. Also, you too, Brian Biswell. We appreciate that, guys. Just running through a couple of these comments real quick while he's looking that up. I'm also glad that they got Stogg to come back. It was kind of a question as to whether he would or not, as far as, after what had happened the last year. But I think that a lot of people believe that just because that portal opens up and people jump in it, that they can, that they're going to definitely go somewhere. It couldn't be further from the truth. So it's a good thing for Stogner and for Oklahoma to have him back in the fold. Also, these Texas A&M guys, I mean, the ones that are going into the portal, which is a bunch of them, and we'll ask you about that here in just a second as well. I saw another big time defensive lineman guy that went in yesterday, right? Did you see that yesterday?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was. He has 3 years of eligibility left. I'm blanking his name. I don't think that we've offered him yet. I don't think we've offered.
It's Dallas Walker the fourth,
Yes.
6'4", 330, Nashville, Tennessee. I believe he was he had a lot of offers coming out for sure. But I think Oklahoma was definitely one of his top choices at that point.
Yes.
That being said, I don't know. Do you know anything about where they are with him? Are they offering him, or is he one of the guys that they may be staying away from?
They haven't. They actually, it's kind of interesting because they haven't offered anybody from Texas A&M yet.
They haven't. Okay.
So I don't know. If they're.
I mean, I think that makes some sense, kind of.
Yeah, I don't know. If they're staying away from them.
Right.
But like we talked last week, it all depends on their reasoning for entering the portal, what kind of person they are, and what kind of personality. Because yes, they might be immediate help, but how toxic are they going to make that locker room environment?
I think that no matter what you say or what you talk about, and I think that this is the one thing that you have to take from this portal time. And this is a different time in college football. Something that it blew me away hearing this, and I just heard it earlier, but that there's only about a little over 50% of these players that enter the portal. So we're talking about there's over 3,500 guys that have jumped into the portal, which is the most ever. But, since 2018, when all this started, only a little over 50% of these guys end up signing at a new school. There's another like 8% that are staying at the school that they originally were committed to, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where the hell's the other 40% going? They're going home. So we're
It's either
talking
going
about
home or
they are
smaller
going home.
programs.
They're
Yeah.
done. They're done. They these are life decisions that they're making. Like, and this came from Scott Pate. I heard that from him earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And he really it kind of drove home the point with me of him saying, "Hey, look, we're talking about life decisions here that these kids are making, and on the basis of, just because they think that there's a lot of reason to go out there." What's up, bud? How you doing? Glad everybody is back here. What about Lebus Overton from A&M? Yeah, I haven't seen anything on him. Have you seen anything on Overton?
No, like I said, I don't think we've shown, as bad as it sounds, any interest towards any A&M players that are in the portal currently.
Well, and I think that that's probably be due to the fact of everything that's been going on at A&M this year. And so you really have to vet these kids and make sure that they're not just that kind of team obliterator, because
Yeah.
obviously there's somebody out there that is, because A&M was a dumpster fire the entire year. And of course, you have to figure that a lot of that has to do with Jimbo and the way that he runs things, because they just dump money on kids and expect it to work out. I saw that they did that again. Got one of the top running backs in the country to flip at the last second, and he's going to be coming to A&M as well. So all these guys that they're losing to the portal, who's to say if they actually lose them or not? Because who wants to touch these guys if they're part of the reason that these guys went 4-8?
Mm-hmm.
Or 5-7 or whatever they ended up. But
Yeah, 5-7.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
just,
they were number 6 at the start of the season.
yeah.
So, this isn't a good thing.
No.
But yeah, James, I agree with you. The only thing, I haven't really heard a ton on Overton or anything like that. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, that doesn't mean that he's not interested or he's not out there. It's just that I guess that it's not something that they've talked a lot about as far as Oklahoma anyway. And that's the one thing I think you have to remember, like Peyton was saying, they have a very strict way that they're going to do things.
Mm-hmm.
Brent Venables doesn't want your problems. You know what I mean? He does not
No.
want somebody else's problems. You can't blame him for it. It's one of those things where you kind of have to, yeah, I get it. Yeah, I wouldn't want to deal with it either. And right now, when you're at a time, this is a critical time for your program alone. You can't
Mm-hmm.
bring in guys that are not worried about winning football games. They're worried about their money. The money's going to be there for these guys,
Whether it's at the college level or the NFL level, it'll be
It's
there,
a
and
lot more at
it'll
the NFL level for sure.
yeah, and it's gonna come. I mean, yeah, it's nice to make a little, extra cash while you're in college, but it's, if you go play for the right people, they will set you up for success. And I definitely think that our defensive staff and Brent Venables has that in place. So,
Absolutely. I mean,
but
we're talking about a staff that's put a bunch of first rounders in just in the last 10 years,
mm-hmm.
of him being at Clemson, well, he's there for 12 years. So,
Yeah,
what do you got there? What were you looking up?
yeah. So the player I was thinking was Taylor Wine was out of Tennessee. He picked up his fourth star today as well.
He
Which
did.
respect, yeah, he's
Nice.
respectfully deserves it. But yeah, I mean, the other stuff I have is that Jordan Allen. We talked about him last week. It's the edge from Kansas. He's currently committed to K-State. We feel pretty good about him flipping him. But yeah, it's definitely flip season right now, because we're looking at a lot of people that are currently committed somewhere else, and trying to get them on the good side. Bad news is that Hicks's in-home visit went really well. I mean, everything about it went well. They, Todd Bates spent pretty much all day with him, then went back to the house with him, hung out with him there. And then, yeah, it went good. But I think that, A&M has him. A&M feels very comfortable in the fact that they have him. Like, on
He's
national signing
locked.
day.
He's
he's going to
locked
be
in.
signed. He's going to be signing in. Same thing goes for his teammate, the linebacker. Damian Sanford is who it is. Yep. So Damian, they're thinking is locked. But to end
that
on,
surprises me, but not. I mean, they must have dumped a boatload of cash in his pocket, man.
We'll see. I mean,
made his dad head coach at the school he's at, and pay towel.
Yeah, we have 2.5 weeks, about give or take. Yeah, about 2.5 weeks till signing day, and we're gonna find out a lot about our chosen class 23. I'm hoping we end up with top 3, but I mean, you see. But to end on some good news, Makana from Hawaii, the linebacker.
Oh yeah,
his recruitment is, like we've talked, has been very hush hush. Not a lot of people have been able to get a lot of information, but someone close to him did say that Oklahoma has left a lot of good impressions on him, like very, very good. They don't know anything, but they said if they were to bet money, it would be Oklahoma if signing day was today. So,
well, usually if those guys are saying stuff like that, then that's a good sign, because you don't want to be wrong and all, and have that out there. So, yeah, definitely, guys. And again, we appreciate you guys coming to the stream. And again, this is Peyton Bowen, Seaball, Oklahoma on Twitter. He is our insider, and he's getting a lot of this information that we don't get. We only got a few more minutes with him, so any questions that you got, let me know. Let's. Josh Morgan's asking, what about Micah Teese? I know they are going after him, but what are you hearing on that? That was a question I had too.
Yeah, definitely going after him. We talked about him last week. I think that Arkansas has him. I've asked around. Arkansas feels comfortable, but Oklahoma is still pushing hard. And like we said, I mean, he wanted to play at Oklahoma, but we didn't have the wide receiver room, so we had to offer him as a defensive back, and he didn't want to play defensive back. He is being offered as a wide receiver. Would love to see if we could get him in on a visit, get him with Jackson Arnold, talk to Jackson Arnold, because if I was a wide receiver in this country right now, I would be looking forward to playing with Jackson Arnold 100%.
The one thing, everybody needs to remember, though, that as far as receivers are concerned, the depth is there. That's where you have depth at Oklahoma right now, folks. Micah, the receivers, that's all well and good. Where you need the most is on that defensive line, at linebacker. Who are some of the guys that they are targeting from the portal, though, that you have on there? And I'm going to pop up the guys that we've lost real quick.
I would definitely say they're going. I mean, I can tell you who more we've offered. I would say we've offered Caleb Banks from defense tackle from Louisville. Obviously, Deshaun McCullough, that's that safety's brother. There was reported interest with Kyrie Jackson. He's a 6'3", 197 cornerback from Alabama. He has not came out with an official offer saying that we've offered him yet. But that's somebody to maybe keep an eye out for. Obviously, we got Jacob Lacey from the portal. So that was a huge get in my personal opinion.
Absolutely.
He's going to probably come in and possibly start his first year with us. Let me see. And then Brandon Fisk from 6'5", 300-pound defensive tackle from Western Michigan. Offered him. But the big thing about the portal is, like I said earlier, is are they going to come take a visit? Are they going to come talk to our staff? And that, I mean, because in the portal you can take a couple of visits, but I hope we get some of these guys in and we can see where their mindset is from there.
Excuse me.
Oh, bless you.
Yeah.
But offensively, we're trying to catch up to the wide receiver from Kent State. Supposedly Penn State is feeling pretty confident in that scenario, but we're definitely.
I'm hearing Colorado on him too, because that's where Sean went. His head coach, and
I think
he's
his first visit. I think his first visit is to Penn State.
Right.
So that's a big. I think that's a big big factor. But we are trying to play catch up in that recruitment heavily right now.
Right.
And to pull him would be a massive, just for wide receiver experience.
It'd be a big
So to
coup,
speak.
and that's the other thing I
Mhm.
think that we need to remember as we go through this is I don't think that you can underestimate what Coach Prime is doing at Colorado,
No.
and what's about to happen at Colorado.
Yeah.
Um, and I kind of agree with what James is saying here, that there's not a ton of exceptional ones, that are going to get through every year.
Hmm.
And even guys like, I mean, who's to say we haven't heard anything about Theo Weiss, have we, of him going anywhere? He's not
I haven't heard.
necessarily gone, you know.
No.
He went into the portal. Uh, he went into the portal last year, and he came back
Mm.
anyway. And I
Yep.
feel like that's a possibility again, because as I said, there's a lot of these kids that do not end up going anywhere. Um,
Hmm.
and I agree. I know Dante Cephas, is that who you were talking about? Yeah, he's.
Yes.
I know his head coach went there. That and you would think that if anything, that's probably what's going to happen. Is if they talk to him before he locks in to Penn
Hmm.
State and signs something, then yeah, I would feel like he's a Colorado kid myself. Now
Yeah.
they did. Yeah, who was the kid that they offered from? What's the kid's name from Arizona that they offered? Uh, he's a badass. The
I
receiver.
know. Let me see. I have it. Oh, Dorian Singer.
Yeah, Singer. Yeah, he's
Yeah,
a stud,
Singer.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Oh,
is a
yeah.
stud.
Matt's talking about him right now
And
too.
and we also got to think about who we pulled in mid-season as well. Bluntly from Arizona State last year. We pulled in wide receivers from other programs right before the season. They got a little bit of
Yeah.
playing time here and there, but yeah, I mean it's
Well, and
just
you
gonna
have depth
be.
from last year's, from the signings last year. You've
Hmm.
got, you still got it, the thought being if Marvin Mims doesn't go into the draft, which I think that he could definitely help his draft stock out if he came back another year.
I
Um,
think so. His biggest thing is I think he's gonna look at who they bring back in the portal. I don't think he wants to come back for a 500 season, 8-4. I think he wants to be competitive. Um, that's my personal opinion, and there's been rumblings about it, so we'll see.
right, right.
Yeah, I would love for a couple people to take some places, but we'll see. I mean, next week I think we're going to be talking about a completely different topic about how we pulled the Indiana linebacker and the safety from that was committed to Cincinnati. I think that we're going to be
Yeah,
having
so
that
that's
that
the
conversation.
McCullough brothers, and that's the ones that we were
The
talking about. And
McCollum
this is a
brothers.
big get,
Yeah.
because in the fact that freaking their dad is a coach at Notre Dame and they're not going to
Mm-hmm.
Notre Dame
Yeah.
is surprising to me. But obviously, there is a big connection there between Jay Valai and their
Mm-hmm.
dad. They worked together with the Chiefs, so
Yep.
it's one of those things that's big. If you can get both of those guys to come in, um,
Well, and
they're both 4-star players. This is defensive help that Oklahoma needs. And
well, and the
let's say, you were
linebacker.
talking about coming back for a
Mhm.
500 team.
Yeah.
Listen, they are a few plays away from 8 wins.
Yep.
A few
9 wins
plays away
really.
from 8 wins. They are, if they were, and I've said this a bunch of times, folks, had they were 120th in the nation defensively. If they're top 70, they win 8, 9, 10 games.
Yep.
If they're top 50, they win 10 plus. This is
Mm-hmm.
how close it is in major college football, from 6-6 to 10 wins to 12 wins, whatever.
Yep.
That's how close it is. So to everybody who's, the sky's falling crowd out there, and I know most of you folks aren't, but you know, there's this much difference. There really is,
Mm-hmm.
that one
Yeah.
guy and it also could trend the other way if you get the wrong guy just because of whatever star number he's got next to him and he's a piece of whatever, then you can tank it the other way.
Mm-hmm.
When is that other do you know when the committee's coming, or is it something that they're? It seems like it's fairly close, guys. I don't. I mean, the thing is that they got time before they have to make a decision.
Yeah,
You would hope that you could kind of lock them up, but they really can't sign anything until National Signing Day, which is what, the 21st.
The 21st
is early
yeah.
signing.
Yeah, 21st is early signing day, and then those guys typically, sometimes they don't, but typically end up on campus in January and are in that summer or that pre-summer pride of lifting with Smitty. But yeah, I would expect if this weekend goes well, if this weekend goes really well and they are sold and they know that that's where they want to go, I would expect either next week or the week before National Signing Day, maybe even
or just sign the day of it so that they don't have to.
Yeah, I mean but it's gonna come. I feel really confident in us getting them to.
I think that one's about as locked as it's gonna get. I don't think that you have to. I mean, what else? There's not a whole lot that they would have to do aside from. I mean, they spent the entire day. You had Valai showed up there later, and they had another coach there with them in the morning.
Brandon Hall.
So I mean, and Brandon Hall does a great job recruiting. I mean, this guy's.
I think he's underrated. I really do.
I think he's definitely under, and so does Valai. These guys have picked up some major recruits throughout their time, and so to me, I feel like this is a situation where these guys are going to end up, the Clemson players. What are you hearing anything about that before I let you go? Now, guys, he's about to have to get out of here, so we're going to go ahead and ask a couple more.
There was interest with one of the corners, supposedly Fred Davis.
Yes.
Yeah, I had heard a report that said that he was ready to head to Norman, the moment he gets offered. But I don't know if he's like, I don't know what BV's doing with that situation, because that could be, treading an area he doesn't want to tread in. I posted something that said that someone was like, well, let's see if he goes and poaches his recruits now, and me and you talked last week, and we were like, that's not poaching.
It's not really poaching, right?
They gave him a year in that new system. They gave him a new defensive coordinator, and then they decided this wasn't for me. But yeah, the cornerback Fred Davis, and then the Kevin Swint. Yeah, that's Kevin Swint.
Oh yeah, Swint.
Edge. Supposedly had interest in coming to Norman as well. They haven't got official offers yet, but we'll see where BV goes with that.
I would feel like the Clemson guys, those are guys that he doesn't have to, this very first week of the portal, he doesn't have to go. I mean, he can have a text message with them and be like, hey guys, I'm going to get to you. I've got to get these guys. And here's the thing is you got to understand, folks, that this week that's coming up, or that just happened, you've got, high school kids that they're, I mean, Peyton Bowen, Matt, you just asked, when does he flip to OU? It could be any time. It could be he could wait until the very end too.
I think
that he's having to deal with going back and forth with his parents on Notre Dame more than anything.
So yeah, that's I told you like 4 weeks ago. It's crazy because Peyton loves Oklahoma, and for the longest time it was Oklahoma and A&M. A&M kind of dropped off, and now it's a race for Notre Dame and Oklahoma. But Peyton's parents, specifically his mom, likes Notre Dame because of the education. She's really huge on education, which you should be. Like that's 100%. And Notre Dame is a prestigious school that provides
Ivy League. It's Ivy League. Same type of deal.
I've said it this whole time. Your girlfriend can do crazy things, and obviously his girlfriend's coming to Oklahoma. But we'll see. I would not anticipate an announcement. I think it's going to be a signing day thing, and I'm not kidding. I think it. And if it's
I just think that everybody needs to realize. And look, his girlfriend is already coming to Oklahoma. He's made at least 40 trips to the school over the since he started getting recruited between the last 2 years. He's always with Jackson Arnold. I mean, he hadn't missed a home game, I don't think.
No, if he did, it wasn't announced. But yeah, I think it's kind of out of respect to Notre Dame, a Jaron Kanak situation.
Right.
You respect the class of Notre Dame to
Sure.
not decommit and then more decommits follow. It's going to
Right.
be like you're going to have two hats on the table, Notre Dame, Oklahoma, and he picks up Oklahoma and puts it on and goes.
I think
going to
that's what's going to
Oklahoma.
happen too. I don't think that he's going to do that as well. And again, folks, it's easy to to sit here and second guess it or whatever. I mean, in the end, it doesn't really matter what anybody's out there saying. And I think
Mhm.
every insider, including Peyton here, everybody's saying the same thing. And
Yep.
it's got a lot of the people at Notre Dame, all these Notre Dame like the message board warriors, these guys are freaking triggered
Yeah,
about it, pissed
they're
off,
mad. They're mad.
fired up, man. It's it's actually pretty funny to watch some of that shit.
Yep.
And you even see it on Twitter. But guys, again, I want to thank again having Peyton come in. I know we've kind of kept you a little longer than what we were supposed to, so we're going to go ahead and let you get out of here.
Yes,
We
sir.
appreciate you coming in. And listen, folks, make sure that you follow him at Seaball Oklahoma on Twitter. He's got updates just about every day. He's with us every week. He is our insider. We will definitely make sure any questions that you have, just ask him on Twitter. And if they're good enough ones, we'll bring it to the show as well. But appreciate you coming on, Peyton. We will see you
sir.
here on the next one, man. Have a good one.
We'll stay connected.
All right, bud. So, all right, guys. Yeah, thanks again, everybody, for all the questions and stuff, and your interaction with Peyton and myself. We've been enjoying that. Obviously, I keep up with a lot of this stuff. He seems to have a database going on in his head, and there's a million things going on in mine. But honestly, it's kind of getting back to some of this stuff with Peyton Bowen. I really feel like, yeah, they're definitely pissed off, Matt. And that's the thing, is they are pissed off. You've seen some of that stuff. I mean, they are just going ham on Oklahoma, which is kind of funny, man. Cheating Oklahoma and this and that and this and that. Yeah, this recruiting stuff is no joke when it comes to that. It's a dog eat dog world. And as I said, something that I think that, I just wanted to kind of piggyback on what I was saying earlier about this portal deal. Is it good that these kids can do what they want to, that they can leave if they want to? Yeah, I do. I want them to be able to have that freedom to do what they want to do. I definitely think that this was the time for these kids to get paid. What I also think, this is one of the things that what Josh Payton said earlier. There's got to be some incentive for them to stick around too. That isn't, and I mean, you can tie it to money if you need to, but you're going to have to make some incentive for some of these kids to stay, because because you're hurting the product. If you don't have a bunch of kids that were 3, 4, 5-star guys that should be playing college football for 4 years, not playing after 2 years because they're jumping around in the portal and they don't have anybody telling them what to do, they don't have good advice coming their way, which a lot of them don't. You're hurting the product. And with as much money has got dumped into it, this is what Josh Payton said that I really agreed with, is all the money that they have dumped into this thing. When you're Fox or you're ESPN, if I'm paying billions of dollars for the product, I want it to be the best product it can be. And it's going to be at Alabama and it's going to be at Georgia and stuff. But even they've lost a lot of guys into the portal as well. You're looking at Oklahoma State, these guys, man, upwards of 20, 25 kids that could be gone. How many of them are really wanted? Now, I would say Spencer Sanders is going to get a shot somewhere. That obviously Mason Cobb is going to play somewhere. Trace Ford, I would say he'll probably end up somewhere. Dominic Richardson, the running back, he was their leading back. There's a reason why these guys are going to end up going somewhere. But yeah, and that's it, is that which kids are going to end up screwing their whole life up by doing this? I think that there has to be some kind of, and I'm not saying to stick a bunch of rules on it. I'm telling you to give these kids education. These are institutions of higher learning. Educate them on money and the right way of doing things. Educate them on that. It's not always the best idea to just jump ship and take off somewhere, and because it's just not. Yeah, dude, Mason Cobb gone. I don't think he's going to OU though. No, I think it's going to be A&M. Everything I'm hearing is the A&M, right? Yeah, that's possible. I mean, you listen. That's the whole point, James, is that there's just not any kind of education going on. When you start looking at, the Presley kids, also Jimmy, when you start looking at, say, the NFL, something that they finally did, and it took them too long to do it too, but they've got all these seminars and different schools, or of people available to young players to teach them about taxes and about, you know, all the different rules, even just within, and living your life and being having to be somebody that's on their own and taking care of their own business. You'd like to think that you could trust your agent, but you know that that's not the case. You can't trust those guys any more than you can, trust anybody else. So the thing of it is there has to be education. I have no idea as far as the NIL. It all depends on who it is. I mean, these are all different collectives. But yeah, no matter what it is, you're going to get taxed on it. If you're making income, you got to pay taxes on it. There's obviously tax breaks here and there and stuff like that. And I'm not an accountant, but I can tell you that there is, I mean, if you're not paying taxes, you're not doing it right. Okay. And when you start getting into the millions of dollars, or even in the halves of millions of dollars, they care. Right. Absolutely, they're going to be able to tax it. It's not a not profit. It's not, if you're getting money for your name, image, and likeness, that is a for-profit industry for you. Okay. And that's all part of it. But that's the problem, I think, and I also believe that this is why you're not seeing Venables just offering every kid that hits the portal that has 4 to 5 stars next to their name. I believe that this is why you're not seeing that, because of the fact that you don't want to end up with somebody else's problems, number one. And number two, that's a lot of education that you have to do. And something that one of the main things that I have liked about the thought of having Brent Venables is that because it's a lot more than just football. It's about growing a man, about and doing it a certain way. I know a lot of people look at that as coach speak, and I can get that. I understand that. I understand that a lot of people feel that way. I also feel like that's probably, that is the way he lives his life. So I don't have a problem with any of that. Now, what I would tell you is that when you start thinking of, these deals, it's definitely, you're going to see the ugly side of it. You're going to see it everywhere, and you're going to start hearing ugly stories because it's an ugly business. And it was already an ugly business, folks. Now it's just out in the open. Okay. But at least now, because of the fact that it's out in the open and you're going to start hearing these things about what happened, these cautionary tales or whatever, I think these cautionary tales need to be told. And so this is a good thing. Even, I mean, there's progress no matter which way you look at it. All I would say is that I'd love to see all of these schools move to more, and even at the conference level, that look, we need to help these kids help themselves, because they are still kids. Now they're adults in the eyes of the tax code and everything else. And, and they obviously have the right to make their own decisions. But I think you have to be very careful on who you pick up and who you don't. Yeah, let's see what else we got here. Yeah, good luck with that. I saw that stuff. Hey man, they can argue anything, can't they, James? They can argue anything. But hey, listen, it's a for-profit industry. There is no two ways around it. College football is a profit industry. It's a big, the only one that's bigger? The NFL. That's it. It's bigger than the NBA. And maybe not in the end, but I mean, for the time of, I think it is bigger than the NBA, and I know it's bigger than probably Major League Baseball too. They just have longer seasons. But we're talking about, you've got the NFL. Football is king in this country. Soccer, football is king around the world, but football is king in this country, and that's, beat the Hogs on Saturday. I don't know. Good question. They've looked good at times and bad at times, haven't they? Uh, I don't want to act like I've been so focused on football that I got to tell you I hadn't paid as much attention as I normally would to it. So, yeah. Anyway, guys, I appreciate everybody showing up and coming to the live stream. We've done great numbers. If you're not already a subscriber, I know most of you guys that are in there talking right now are. Please hit that button. Make sure that you hit the like. That helps us out a lot. Our numbers have gone up exponentially just in the last 2-3 weeks since I started doing more live streams like this, and I enjoy doing it, interacting with you guys. There is a feature in the I'll make sure that I stick that stuff into the to the comments here in just a minute. But there is a tip feature if you guys want to do that, and you can always, when you shop for your merchandise on Fanatics, make sure that you use. Dang it, that's still the wrong banner overlay. Make sure that you use our link to do so. It's HOF-Fanatics. So make sure that you do this right there at the top of the screen. Up to 65% off everything in the store every time. And right now with Christmas coming, you're seeing some crazy specials all the way around. So it's one of those deals where, we do get a commission off of that. It kind of pays down the road, but you are going to get great deals every time. I mean, I've used it myself so much lately, just for the simple fact that it's Christmas, and so I'm buying gifts for family members as well. You're saving a lot of money that way as well. So, big deal there. So yeah, make sure that you use that anytime that you are buying OU gear, NFL gear, whatever. It's every team around the world. So they're the biggest in the world. So Okie Light, folks. This is the whole deal. I mean, and it's been weird to me all season. I just wanted to kind of hit you guys up and see what you thought about all this. I don't know how many of you guys saw the video from earlier. We're talking at least, 11 guys for sure 12 guys that are for sure in the portal or gone, period. They had added, who was it? CJ Brown and Tyrone Weber. Both of them were first-year players at Okie Light. They're gone. Both of them gone. Not in the portal, just gone from the program for something. Then you also, obviously, you had guys like, Spencer Sanders and Mason Cobb that entered the portal this week. Again, you don't know what's going to happen with these guys, and maybe that some of them could end up back there. And I would guess that Oklahoma State would allow them back. They don't have to, but I would guess that they would because they're going to need them. That being said, because you're also looking at Trace Ford, Dominic Richardson, the Presley brothers. First one is Braylon Presley. He's the young one. Now Brennan has not. He hasn't entered the portal as of yet, but there's not a single senior and he's not a senior yet, but there isn't even a single senior with eligibility that has publicly come out and said that they are going to come back. Not one. What in the hell is going on over there? And all season long, you've got, it was such a weird, and he's kind of been trending this way for the last few years, but what the hell is Gundy doing over there? Even when they lose games, it almost seems like he doesn't care. Well, that wasn't as fun as the last one. Stuff like that. Or, the TCU game. I mean, they blow a 24-7 lead. I mean, TCU did it all year, where they were coming back. But that was the start of that. And, all he says is, well, they outrushed us. They averaged 5 yards a carry, and we just averaged like 3.5. That's not what the hell happened anyway. And we know damn good and well it wasn't. You fell in love with the pass. They outrushed you because you weren't running the football, but there was an issue going on within the team, and he wasn't even addressing it. We're all seeing that from here, and apparently so is the team from within, because you had heard right after at that point, even the TCU game, where Mason Cobb was pissed off in the locker room, and him and a lot of the guys, but they were talking about him. That even, and that they kind of stuck Spencer Sanders on an island sometime, with him getting hurt and things like that. And then, he would just kind of force his way back in there because he's a gamer, whatever. Who's to say? Obviously, neither one of the other quarterbacks that they had, Gunner, these guys weren't. Yeah, sorry, man. I do the best with that I can with that 405 guy. These guys do the best that they can do as far as the quarterback situations are. But Gunner wasn't ready, and neither one of those kids were ready. So if they were going to win, the only chance they had was Spencer, right? So to me, it's just one of those things where I just feel like I would get rid of this dude, man. You have an opportunity right now, if you're Oklahoma State, to put yourself in a position to win the Big 12 and to be among the elite of that conference. Oklahoma and Texas aren't staying forever. You ought to be glad that you're still playing OU right now. I think that their decision to stop playing Oklahoma is bad for their program, not just money-wise for the game or any of that kind of crap or for like fans. I think it's bad for Oklahoma State because they have nothing that they're really having to make sure that they're at least good enough to not get blown out of the damn building by OU every year. And that is a good thing. They may not win the game often, but they win it some, and it matters to them. So it's something for them to push towards. At this point, I think that they just, by default, they believe that they're going to be right up there at the top because they always have been right under Oklahoma or Oklahoma and Texas or Oklahoma, Texas, and Nebraska or whatever it may have been. Colorado when they were in the league. I'm telling you, if these guys don't figure this out, I feel like they're they're going to be a bottom feeder still, or at best mid-level, unless they bring in somebody who has a little more competitive spirit to him, because Mike Gundy doesn't. He doesn't. And it amazes me that, that's why it just amazes. And the fans don't even hold the guy accountable to this shit. I don't understand it. It would drive me crazy, man. Colorado's going to be another team, a lot of talent. Why do you say that, John? I don't know that I agree with that. I think that they play together at Jackson State. He brought in the right talent, and they're going to have a ton of talent. And I think it's something that Coach Prime is going to have to work with. But the one thing I know is he's taking it very serious, the coaches that he's bringing in. He did the same thing at Jackson. I don't think that he believes for 1 second that he has to be the guy calling plays or doing this or doing that. He's looking at it as a CEO type of situation. I know there's a lot of Dion hate out there, but count me out of that. Okay, count me out of that. I'm not. Do I think he's perfect? No, I don't. But I don't think that he did anything wrong leaving Jackson State, and I don't think that he's doing anything wrong kind of messing with and stirring up the pot in college football. I think it's going to hurt everybody. And it is. Bottom line is, on Sunday, he had 200 different people, as 200 different kids count you in on what, the hate? Well, that's okay. I get it. You can say whatever you want. And here's the thing. I'm not going to be one of the guys that's doing it. But I'm telling you, the guy's going to win, and you don't have to like him, and none of us have to like him. And if it's going to affect the teams that we love, of course you wouldn't. What I would tell you is that those kids are graduating, and if you saw what he said to the Jackson State kids before he left, at least he sat them down. He wasn't Lincoln freaking Riley that just bounces in the middle of the night. He's going to go back and coach them in this Celebration Bowl. He's not just leaving them high and dry like that. And he was telling a lot of them, do not enter the portal. Why did he say it? Because of the stuff I was just talking about earlier, that you're going to end up getting stuck and not having a place to play next season. If you really want to, you got to go where you can actually play. Some kids are where they need to be. Yes, he brought in some NFL type talent to Jackson State, and he'll do the same thing at Colorado and more of it, right? If you're the Pac-12 coaches, you're the ones that should be hating on Prime. And they probably are. And look, don't be surprised when you start seeing different stuff. He starts stealing recruits. No, of course But does that make him different than anybody else, Jimmy? Because they're all stealing recruits from each other. That's the name of the game. Are the Rams going to throw the bag at Lincoln Riley? No. Why would they get? They just. I mean, here's the deal. Lincoln is not a better coach than Sean McVay. I'm gonna tell you that he's not. What's happening in LA is, and it's rare that you see this, but they kind of mortgage their future for that Super Bowl, right? And the fact is that you've got Matt Stafford has, he has a disc that's pinching on his freaking his spinal cord. He may not ever play again. But they knew that that was a possibility. He was new, right? What? Probably didn't dip because he was afraid of a rebuild. Right. No, exactly. Look, I understand why he didn't dip. He left the school. He got a good offer and he left, and people were saying, well, this is the first offer he had and blah, 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 blah. That's fine. That's fine. I'm not saying everything he does is perfect either, because it's not. Yeah, but Jimmy, what do you expect him to be? Okay, yeah, he is. He's also the freaking best cornerback to ever play, right? And he pounds on his chest about that a lot. What I've noticed is over the time that he's been at Jackson State, and it's been 3 years, not 2, like the outlaw says, but it's been 3 years. He cares about those kids, man. He does care about those kids. And like I said, what he did when he sat there and talked to them like he was their dad and explained to them what was going on. There was parts of it that he was kind of dogging on the school, and even so was Ashley Robinson, the AD. You would figure he's pissed off. He's not. He's not mad. And he's not going with him to Colorado either. To me, yeah, he's a me guy. Of course he is, but he's also a people person too. He cares about kids. That's something that he's always done. He was the best covered corner there ever has been. Who do you know that was better at covering people down the field than he was? There's guys that have been close. He was the best. You couldn't throw his way. Right. Exactly. There was a lot of that kind of stuff. That. And the other thing, Jimmy, you realize that he was donating half of his salary the entire time he was there to better the situation, the water, the all the facilities and stuff like that. I'm not going to sit here and get into a back and forth about Coach Prime. What I'm going to tell you is that bottom line is the guy flat out is going to he's making a dent in college football. And I would venture to say that most people that hate him are hating him on him because of that, because they're worried about their own schools. And you're going to see a ton of it. Watch. The Pac-12 they're about to start bucking at him. Guys like, Lincoln will start taking shots. I'm not even putting that one up, bro. Why would you say that? He doesn't put up with that stuff, man. He was the guy that freaking showed up at Michael Irvin's house and freaking made him knock off the partying and stuff. He wasn't having it. That's just not how he is. Anyway, again, I'm not going to get into a back and forth about what he is and what he isn't. I know that there's a side to him, and just like anybody else, there's a side of that you would, and that is funny, by the way, what you said there, Cracker Mac. But I feel like it's a good situation. And look, I don't know. To me, I remember those days of when Colorado was really good as a fun time in college football. Now, of course, I was a kid at that time, but I can remember Eric Bieniemy. I can remember, obviously Cordell Stewart, guys like that. I mean, those were some nasty freaking football teams. And you guys that have been around watching Oklahoma for a long time when they were in the league, in the Southwest Conference and they're the Big 8 and then the Big 12. It was a real deal conference, and you had to deal with them. But I think that now, shoot, I'm surprised that they're not trying to get them back into the Big 12, and like seriously trying to get them back into the Big 12 at this point. If you're Yormark, I would be. You know what I mean? I would be, just because of the prime factor. Just because of the prime factor. What's up, Eric? How you doing, buddy? Glad you're in the show. Guys, again, thanks a lot for coming into the show. I am going to go ahead and have to listen. I mean, anything else you guys want to ask or talk about real quick? I've got about 10 minutes, and then we're going to get back out of here. I didn't like them days because they beat us. They did. Listen, man, one of the first games that I remember, like real vivid. Now, I remember Jamel Holloway a lot. I mean, he was my first favorite Sooner. Jamel was a bad dude, man. Whew. I got to meet him one time, actually. It was really cool. I'd love to have him on the show, actually. But I remember that. But the first game that I remember the most was that Colorado Notre Dame game when Rocket Ismail returned that punt and they called it back. Oh man, that was a game. But that one, I think that was the year that was Colorado's national championship season. That was an unbelievable football game. And these guys, I mean, I'm pretty sure they had Bieniemy that year. And then who was it that who was it that put who was their Heisman winner? Was it Salam? No, I forget now. Anyway, I was watching until I think he has too, man. They said he got 200 calls from 4 or 5-star guys, 200 text messages or calls on Sunday alone about wanting to transfer in. He's gonna have his pick of players he wants. They're gonna turn it around right away. I said the other day I thought 7 games that they could win. I think that's probably the floor. Because he's also, I mean, look, he went out and got he got a head coach from Kent State to be his offensive coordinator. And then he went out and got a big time defensive coach too. Plus he's got these connections to coaches that are coaching in the league, stuff like that. He's going to get some of these guys. And then the recruiting side of it, I mean, how hard is it? You get Deion Sanders to get on the phone with this guy or go sit down in somebody's living room, see how that goes. Yeah, I think he's a problem. He is a problem for the Pac-12 immediately, and within 2 or 3 years, he's going to be a national problem. Everybody's going to have to deal with him. He went and got the assistant defensive coordinator from Alabama. He's gone. So, I mean, look. And these kids are already used to hearing these guys talking to them. They've already been these coaches already have relationships with these recruits. So again, and then the other thing about it is, man, you got to look at Shador, his son, the quarterback. That kid is a player. Yep, they will, Jimmy. They're going to run it's pretty much the same. Yeah, that's what Sean runs, that same thing. So. Yeah, it's a nice offense. And Shador can play. He can flat out go. The "I'm coming" speech. Yeah, that was pretty funny, wasn't it? I'm coming. I don't know if you guys watched that video. I was screwing around with it. Messing around saying that too. So no, his son can flat out play. He can flat out play, man. And I mean, he had 36 touchdowns to 6 interceptions this season. He's a 70% completion percentage. Again, it was the FCS level, but you can see him watching him play just what he's about, right? Yeah, he's fast, super fast. I mean, he's freaking Prime's kid. That makes sense. And then the one that I don't even know for sure, that I know that him and Deion were kind of mad at each other or whatever, and it may be about him leaving. But Shiloh, the defensive back, he was playing at South Carolina, and then he had transferred to go play for his dad. And he was a stud already too. So these guys are, I mean, they're definitely their father's son. But Shiloh's a little bigger, good player. I think it would be good for them to get him as well. I think they're going to be good. I think they're going to be real good. I also believe that, Oklahoma's going to be good again. I was glad to see that Dylan's coming back. Looks like he's coming back for sure. With Jackson Arnold, you don't have to rush him in. And I still feel like, I know everybody's thinking about the receiver situation. There's a lot of depth there, so I'm not too concerned about that at all. I do feel like in the end, I would think that Marvin's probably going to come back. I think there's a reason he hasn't made a decision to jump to the NFL yet. I think he's trying to get all the information that he can about where he would go in the draft. And I think that's a smart move on his part. One thing I know is he's not going to go into the portal and go, he hated Lincoln. He was not a fan of Lincoln, because aside from the Red River game when he was getting all those balls that he got at that game, he was largely unused, in that offense, and even after that, Lincoln wasn't drawing up plays to target him a whole lot. So, he's not going anywhere to that. I also don't believe that that's where Theo Weiss is headed either. I don't. So I still feel like you could end up seeing him come back as well. And again, I don't even if they didn't, it really probably wouldn't matter. Yeah, he's gonna have both places. He's gonna be able to recruit anywhere he wants. He's Florida, Texas, California. Yeah, I mean, he's been living in Texas forever. He's a Florida kid himself. Everybody's gonna want to play for him, man. He's played all over the country too. And so if you, again, that's almost like it's already kind of to the point, and I don't know. Obviously, he's going to have to win to continue this, but at this moment right now, it's like everybody would like to play for Nick Saban in Alabama because you're going to win a national championship at some point, probably, or your chances are good. But not everybody can, That's just kind of how it is. Absolutely. Oh, and that's why the video that we did on Tuesday, that's why I was more talking about that to, hey, let's handicap the coaches in that league right now. Think about that. Kyle Whittingham is the best coach in the league. Really. But I would also look at, Dan Lanning. I mean, this was his first season as a coach, and they kind of slipped at the end. But I got to tell you, the guy, the pedigree of Dan Lanning is the real deal. He's right up there. Chip Kelly, I know that people forget about Chip, but he's a heck of a coach too. And UCLA was a dumpster fire when he got there. They're better. And then you've got, there's a bunch of coaches in that league that are doing very well. The coach at Oregon State, man, that guy, you talk about a program that was in the doldrums. To me, Lincoln's maybe in the top 5. And that's just because he's that good of an offensive coach. But he's that poor at doing the rest of it. When you're always winning by one touchdown or one score or whatever the hell, because you've got a guy like Caleb Williams that plays Superman for you all the time, it looks good for a while. But I think that the writing is on the wall, and I even think that as much as it's pissing off people to hear it from the USC side, I'm getting all kinds of hate in the comment sections from those guys, and some of it's so bad that you just got to get rid of it. But I got to tell you, if he doesn't have a Superman quarterback, he's not top 5 at all. No, he's not. Yeah, I agree with you right there, man. And that's what I'm saying. When you start looking at even the coaches in that league, and Coach Prime immediately goes there because why? He doesn't try to act like he's the best play caller or this or that. He's going to be a CEO and do what he needs to do to win. That's why you got to worry about him. He's going to out-recruit you, and he's going to put coaches in place that he knows can coach. He doesn't, my kid's the quarterback, so I'm going to call the plays. Nah, this ain't Pop Warner football, bruh. You don't have to do that. And he's not going to do it. So, to me, I don't know that he's top 5 in the league. I think that he's probably around the top 5 in the league because he is a good play caller, right? But I think that they win 5 or 6 games this season, Eric. Yes, I believe that they're a 5 or 6 win team without Caleb Williams, just like Oklahoma was last year without Caleb Williams. The fact that Oklahoma won 6 this year with the number 120 defense in the country tells you, yeah, they didn't have Caleb Williams, and Dylan isn't Caleb Williams. The guy's about to win the Heisman, so let's not be crazy here. That's not who Dylan is. But they were still top 20 in the country. In fact, they were almost top 15. They were the number 17 total offense in college football. Was he perfect? Did he hit all the throws? Do you wish he would have hit a few more? Of course you do, because those were games that they lost by 1 score, and most of those games that they lost were under a touchdown. You had 3 of the 4 were inside of 7, right? So they would have won if they'd have just scored another touchdown. I mean, shit. So of course, those throws, they mean a little more, right? I don't understand that. I don't know what you're saying about that, Cracker Mac, and I appreciate you commenting and stuff like that. But my feeling is that why? Did you see the facilities there? Because, and that's to me, and I said this already, I feel like it's a sleeping giant. That program there was a sleeping giant because, Jimmy was just saying earlier, those teams back in the late 80s, early 90s, they were beating Oklahoma. They were beating Texas. They were beating Nebraska and Notre Dame. They're winning national championships, Heisman trophies. I mean, I remember those Colorado Buffalo teams, man. I do. And I was a kid. So, and they do have donors. They were acting like they don't have the money to pay him and all that stuff. I mean, come on. They got money. There's a lot of money in Colorado from a lot of different places. Ranchers and oilmen and stuff. Everybody, I mean, and alumni don't just stick around the state, but they will when they start, they're high-powered alumni. They live all over the country. When they had to have already had the okay from those guys. Yeah, go ahead. We'll get you the money that you need for him. And $5 million is about half of what the major coaches are getting anyway. And then he's got another $5 million for his assistants. So, that's a big deal for him. Yeah. Yeah. They got money. They do, Matt. You're right. I mean, right now they're not good, but they that's why I said it's a sleeping giant, man. It really is. So it's just a matter of, and these things go in ebbs and flows. You know that. Look at how long it took for Alabama to be. I mean, I remember when Shula's kid was the coach at Bama, and I mean, they couldn't wait to get rid of that dude. And I mean, he wasn't a terrible coach, but he wasn't great. Yeah. 09 sounds. I think that sounds about right. Something like that. Look, I can. This is to me, I remember them enough that the Colorado that we've seen the last 4 or 5 years is the Colorado that I don't recognize. I don't recognize that. I more recognize the one that was always winning. That was always, you knew you had a fight on your hands whenever you had them. And in Boulder, it gets rowdy there too. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you had to work. You were working hard on them ranches, them ranch hands. I know that deal. I'm from Oklahoma originally, but lived in southeast New Mexico's ranch land. Ranch and oil field down here. So, yeah, I know all about that. So there's a lot of work there. Yeah, they were bad. Yeah, they were bad, Jimmy, real bad. Boulder is a fantastic college town too. See, I appreciate that. Beautiful place, Colorado. My son was living there for a couple of years. He moved back to Vegas, but he was in. I love Colorado, man. It's a beautiful place. It's an expensive place to live, but it's been, that's God's country there, man. Beautiful place. And that's, I mean, if you watched any of that first day I was watching, the tour that they gave Coach Prime and all that stuff, their facilities are unreal. When you look at the Switzer Center, is about to be the same kind of thing. Driving cattle, huh? Nice. Yeah, I don't do horses, so that's pretty cool though. Yeah, I don't know, man. I feel like this is a big deal for them now, because again, that's the Colorado I recognize and I can relate to, is when they were good. You know what I mean? This 1-11 Colorado doesn't seem right to me. It's just weird to me. So, they made a big splash there. It's good for them. I'm glad that they did. It's good for college football, man. It's good for college football. I don't care who you are. And the thing is we don't have to, and not everybody has to like Coach Prime. Who cares? That's okay. It doesn't mean he's not good for college football. The villains are part of it. The villains are part of it. Not that I think that he's a villain. I'm not calling him one, but the villainous side for you, if you're an Oklahoma fan and you're having to deal with Colorado, or you're a USC fan and you're having to deal with Colorado or whatever, then he's the villain. That's part of what makes college football great. Guys, I appreciate everybody coming in to the show tonight. I'm going to go ahead and call it for tonight. Again, if you're not already a subscriber, please go ahead and hit that button. Hit the subscriber button. Make sure that you like the video on the way out. And shop at our Fanatic store. The deal is up there at the top, bit.ly/HOF-Fanatics. Also, you can actually tip us if you want to. That'll be in the description there as well. Thanks a lot, guys, for coming in. I'll see you on the next show.